Well, hello everyone. This is Lynn Hamilton, your lead instructor here at Samson Properties, along with my little cardinal friend, because if you know, you know, and I know you know. So anyway, hey, just in this session, we wanted to bring you some knock it out of the park tips on really wowing a potential seller with not only your seller consultation, but a few other things that we have in our Samson toolbox that will make a huge difference. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. All right, the first thing I want to remind you is that the purpose of a consultation is like an interview. You are interviewing them, they are interviewing you. Part of that you need to remember there are four personality styles. There's the D, the I, the S, the C. Yes, I'm a certified disc instructor, so I understand the importance of that. There's also three learning styles. People are either visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Now, a lot of times we're just a little mix of all of the above. So this is why it becomes important to have your seller and your buyer consultation in writing so that when you are chatting with them, if they're auditory, they're hearing it. They're visual, they're seeing it, but they're kinesthetic, they have their hands on it. So it is important that those three factors are taken into consider. Also, did you know? Hmm. When you only do buyer or seller consultations every once in a while, and not all the time and consistently, you are actually in violation of your code of conduct under fair housing. It's called discrimination. Because how did you decide who did and who did not get a buyer or seller consultation? That's when it can get ugly and messy. So here's my pledge to you. I want to make sure that you understand the value of a buyer and seller consultation. I want to make sure that you know you have the tools that you need here at Samson right at your fingertips. And I want you to promise to yourself that your best minimum standard of practice in this business is to always do a buyer and seller consultation and provide them a written handout, booklet, whatever you want to call it, so for those that are visual and kinesthetic, which we all are a little bit, they've got it in their hands. So that makes sense? Pinky swear promise you're going to do that? All right, good. Let's go ahead and move forward. All right, so I'm going to go through this real quick. I do have a handout that's attached to where the video is at, but a couple quick things that you want to make sure that you are customizing as well and mainly keeping up to date. The page, I think it's page 2 in this handout, is where the Samson locations are at. That needs to be updated on a regular basis because we are growing and we need to keep that up and keep that current. The other one that you need to make sure is up and current, and I'll point it out as we walk through it real quick, is where our graphics are at for our claim to fame, our #1 status. As those change and we've got new accolades to gloat on, we want to make sure that those are included there as well. You want to make sure that your bio is updated. Many agents say, I have 10 years of experience, and you've had your license for 15. So you either need to keep it current annually, or you put in there that you've been licensed since 2004. And there you go. So that is one way to get around that. You also want to make sure that you've got that, your bio rather, on your website. That way you can create a QR code. QR code monkey is my favorite, remember, that you can then embed into this buyer and seller consultation. And I'm going to show you how that plays out in just a second. The other one is testimonials. Now, I know that there's a lot of you that use Testimonial Tree or Google Business for your testimonials. That's great. But my recommendation is to always do a copy and paste, stick it onto your own your own computer. That way you've got access to it. So in case something goes wrong or in the universe that account blows up, you've got access and still have maintained your testimonies. So with that, you want to make sure that you've got a few of them, your best ones, up on your website under your testimonial page. Again, like you do with your bio, you highlight the whole URL, you create a QR code that will take the consumer directly to your testimonial page. And again, I'm going to show you how that plays out in the buyer and seller consultation. Okay, we've got some other tools that are available for you as well to use, and let me go ahead and mention them before we jump into this part. Did you know that through Real Scout, there is a option in there that they can set up where they're going to get, I'm assuming it's monthly review of what their property value is. That's option number one. Option number two, you can go to your own website that Samson gives you. I'm referencing Bull Trails. The second tab over, it says sell, unless you've had me change it, that says estimation of home value. The consumer can go to your website, click on that, and every month they will get a sweet little email that says update of property value. Interested? Click the button. Now, I just discovered something too on that. Whatever color palette you have set for your website, when that email comes into the consumer's inbox, it is highlighted, if you will, with that color. I didn't know that till recently because I change colors a lot for training purposes, and mine came through and it was in the new color, and I went, oh, there you go. All right. Again, that ties in the importance of color and branding. That ties into staying top of mind for your consumer that you are still in business. Because as I've said before, everybody knows at least a couple people that at one time in their life had a real estate license and then decided to go out of the business. So when they do not hear from you, they assume that you are out of business. And we don't want that happening because we know what happens when that happens. Okay, all right. So that is another option that you have for you as well. The other tool that I would highly recommend is in Bowl Trails. Now, don't panic when I say Bowl Trails. Even if you are not using Bowl Trails for your CRM, there are still some wonderful tools in there. Attached is a step-by-step how to get in and download and customize the present that is in Bowl Trails. Here's the highlights. Go into your Bowl Trails account, log in with your pass or your sign in, which is your email address. Left-hand side, I think it's right under where it says Web IDX, the next button down, it says marketing. When you hover your mouse over that, it will open the push out box and you will find present. When you click on that, it takes a second, it will load it up. There's 3 across. The second row, the first one over, says present. There you go. That's what you're looking for. There's one for win the presentation. Then there's one for the buyer side as well. Now, those 2 tools, if you have not done it yourself, go check it out. You need to know what you have available to you and how you can use it with your consumer. With that, remember, those are not intended. I will repeat that in case you went to sleep. Those are not intended to be the full consultation. It is a great tool to create that wow factor from the very beginning. You can attach that included into a email when you email them to confirm your buyer or your seller consultation when you're going to go see them. Hey, this is just confirm this. And before I get there, go ahead, click on this link. It's going to give you a quick introduction. I'm looking forward to answering your questions and letting you know what the process is, how we're going to work together, whatever you want to say after that. Okay. So that is another great tool that, again, is at your fingertips and right in Bowl Trails. Even if you're not using Bowl Trails for your CRM, those are tools, your website, and that tool is in there as well. Okay, so wanted to make sure you knew that. Now, if you need to see the how-to instructions for Core Present or Present, go to my website, lynnhamilton.samsonproperties.net. I have added an agent resource center for you, our agents, because you are my SOI. And when I'm traveling and I'm teaching and occasionally sleeping, I am not immediately able to respond to all emails that pop in. So if you email me and say, Lynn, how do I do that? Never fear. This is why I created this tab, Agent Resource Center. The first drop-down box, they'll give you a drop-down box. The third one down says how-to instructions. Anytime I've taught anything that requires a how-to, I have created a video for how-to. Sometimes they're 3, 5, 6, 7 minutes. Short, sweet, to the point. It's going to take you straight to where you need to go, which buttons to click, and where to download it at. So there you go. It can be found there on my website, Agent Resource Center, drop down box to the how-to instructions, and bada boom, it is included in the buyer and seller consultation. So I think it is tip 19 and 20. It's there for you to find as well. So go check that out. Take a minute when we're done with this session to go into your Real Scout and set yourself up as a potential buyer or a potential seller. So you see what the consumer is seeing. Go to your bold trails, go into the marketing, into present, and download that and create it and see what it does and what it looks like. It is very simple to use. It is not complicated at all. And here we've given you the written how to, we've given you a quick video for how to, other than you holding you back. There is no reason that you should not be able to tap into those. Okay. So remember that unless you are staying top of mind, you are going to be forgotten. I'm sorry, McDonald's still advertised and they've been around forever. So you are a business. You're a small business or a big business, doesn't matter. But you need to remind the consumers that you are still in business and you need to be familiar with the tools and your website that you have at your fingertips. Okay? All right. So now you've done your pre-work. You've got an appointment set to go take a listing or to go look at the house and meet with them. They may or may not be on interviewing another agent. You want to make sure that you are the one that's going to stand out with the wow. So here's the before of what you need to do. I just gave you that information. The one through Real Scout, the one through Present, built into Bull Trails, that is your before. During the actual consultation, this is what you will present them. You've got to remember, they are going to forget about 90% of what you tell them. It's not going to sink in and it's sure not going to stay. So this is why it is so important to have the handout and the visual for them as well. All right. Now, during the consultation, you would sit down with them. Here is a recommended handout, keeping in mind that this is hitting the target of the D, the I, the S, the C personality style, and the 3 learning styles. There you have it. Let's go. All right. So this is right now in a Word document. We may be creating it in Canva as well, so that whichever format you're pulling from, I'm just going to point out where you need to customize it. In this particular format, you've got the top name, which is in the header. When you just click up in there, it takes you up into the header. It's going to let you customize. And once you do that on one page, it automatically feeds it down to the others. Okay. You click out of it and you've got this. You want to change the colors? Change the colors. I'm all good with it. I love this line that Casey shared with us a couple years ago at a sales meeting, and it was drop the mic. His comment was, we as agents just need to do a better job at educating the consumer how the business of real estate works. Isn't that the truth? So thank you, Casey, for that. Your comment lives on. All right. So if a seller consultation, what I would do with this center picture, I would go ahead and do a drive-by of their house ahead of time, do a quick snapshot of it, and I would download their house right there. That starts with a wow moment. There you have it. All right. Obviously, on the front page, please be sure that you take my information out and add your information in. Don't laugh. An agent did it one time. She forgot to change my information out of it. I got a call the next day that says they were really impressed with my presentation. They wanted to hire me. I knew exactly where it came from. And when I called her and said, "Oh, so I hear I did a really good job last night," it took her a second, and I will not repeat the words that came out of her mouth, but we had a good laugh at it. All right. So next page down, this is a little bit about Samson. If by chance you have a picture, a good picture of the outside of your building with the Samson sign up on it, you can insert it there if you want. You can leave this one in there as well. Your call. It gives a quick, brief history and then the location of the offices. This is where you need to make sure that you are updating that on a regular basis. Now, when you are going through the presentation with them, you will just simply say, as you can see, we've got a solid footprint and a solid foundation behind us. Samson is recognized as the #1 brokerage in the DMV footprint. I don't go into details. I don't go into reading this to them. I don't go into telling them where all the offices are. If they are interested, It's there. Your S's and C's are happy campers. Your D is going, good. Don't bore me with the other stuff and waste my time. Let's get into the nitty gritty and the nuts and bolts. So the next page again is just a visual impact for them, so showing that and I just call it, this is our bragging rights. We're very proud of the accomplishments of the Sampson properties within our footprint. And if you're interested, you can take a look at this in more detail later. Next page over. Let me introduce myself. Obviously, if they know you, that would be silly, but I would still make sure that you update this picture. Please take mine out. Add your brief bio right here. Now, if you've got the alphabet soup after your name, put the alphabet soup, but spell out what it is because they don't know and they don't care until you explain what it is that requires additional fine tuning and development of skills based off a certain number of hours of training, and you have earned these credentials. All right. Um, Testimonials and referrals. This is where a QR code would be created that if they're, again, you've got one or two testimonials here. If they're interested in knowing more or what others have said about working with you, they can, at their own leisure, scan the QR code, and that will take them directly, not to your website, but directly to the page on your website where your testimonials are at. Same thing with the bio. You could do a little QR code here as well. This is, for an expanded version of my background and credentials, scan the QR code at your leisure, and it will take you to the full bio on my website. That's all you need to say about that. Moving on. Real estate brokerage relationship. I love this page because I always want to let them know right up front that there are several types of a relationship. In this scenario, when you hire me, embedded command, just stating the positive, when you hire me, I'll be serving as the seller's agent. And there you go. There it is right there. I don't go into any of the other details on it. I just mention what I'm going to be. When they hire me, I will be serving as their seller's agent or buyer's agent, and then move on. My promise to you, I promise that I will be your advocate, your consultant, your realtor, and your PPS. Now, you may ask, what is the PPS? Oh, wait, if you've gone through Jumpstart Session 1, you know, because we introduced it there, that the PPS stands for I am your professional problem solver. Gang, that should be on your name badge, which you should be wearing all the time. It should be on your business cards, your email signature line, the whole bit. It is the best conversation starter ever. There you go. Don't miss it. Again, if you want to go in and change this verbiage, you knock yourself out and you change it to your heart's content. But what it is doing, it is setting the expectation from the beginning of your promise to them and what you're going to do. Where it says your name here, please do not leave that there. On your copy, highlight it out, type your name in there, and here's what I like to do. When I get to this page in the consultation, I would say, you know what? I have not signed this yet because I wanted you to see that I was going to sign it, and this is what my commitment was. Use that as a grab down moment, and there you go. Grab it, lock it down. All right. Now, next page over is let me share with you what I'm looking for in a client. Again, this is an interview. You're making sure that you're going to be able to work with them. They can work with you. You know expectations. They know expectations. There you go. Moving on. And again, if you want to change this up any, you just knock yourself out. But again, leave the header in there, have the items in there, and here's the bullet points. You do not want to have just paragraph and sentence and sentence and sentence and sentence and sentence. You want to leave it as bullet points because your S and C's are going to do. Your I is going to look at it and go, wow, that's a lot you're going to do. And your D is going, damn, you're good. All right. There you go. That's why bullet points are often used in these type of presentations. Key questions you should ask. Again, if you're you want to change this up, knock yourself out. But there are some basic questions that they should be asking. And again, you don't have to go through it. Just say, these are questions that most clients have that I'm going to be answering. So let's move on. When you hire me, you hire the professional team that comes with me. This is when you hire me, that is one of those embedded commands, making sure that they assume that the next step is you will hire them. I use the analogy, and again, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This came from Joe Stump in the Buy Referral Only, and this is a game changer. It talks about everyone can relate to taking a flight or taking a journey or a vacation. That's why it's in that type of a format. Again, read through it. My job is to manage the flight crew, which may consist of a lender, a title, a settlement team, inspectors, transaction coordinators, which is like the air traffic controller. Even if you're doing it yourself, it's still being managed and overseeing other service providers. Now, the beauty of this page, if you are a new agent and you are scared to your wits, this is a beautiful, when you hire me, you also hire the professional team that comes with me. There you go. So that takes away that mystery in their head of, well, wait a minute, you're brand new? No. When they hire you, they get the whole team of professionals that come with you. Now, this next paragraph, this is where I do pause and make sure that I basically read it upside down, or I have it in front of me where I can read it. During the process of this transaction, we will oversee 70 to 100 pieces of paper, including contracts, disclosures, reports, and communications, most of which require signatures or initials. There are there are equivalent to 100 to 150 phone calls, text messages, and emails, all loaded with critical details that need attention. We'll also adhere to a very strict timeline and deadlines set out in the contract. Now, boom, do not pass over and skip on that one, because that sets a rock solid expectation. Now, if they were thinking, yeah, well, we may do this ourselves, this is where this overcomes that objection and just pops them right upside the head, because they're sitting there looking at it going, 100 pieces of paper, that's that many, and the phone calls, and yeah, no, I'll hire you and let you do it, is what they're thinking. Again, the interview is also to overcome objections before the objections ever come out of their mouth. This is a great page. Do not skip past it. You can skip past other ones. All right, next page over. Reasons for selling your property. Ask them. This is where you start a conversation and you get them engaged in the conversation. Now, this is where I would also either be writing it down, or I'd have a copy of this page and I'd be filling it out the same time they're filling it out. The next section down is about, and let me back up for a second. Let me go ahead and say, this is going to tie in to the how did I do email that will follow up in the after the consultation. Stay tuned. I'll show you how that works. All right. The next category down is, this is where you're going to put in some information about what's going on in their footprint. Now, you cannot estimate a home value yet because you haven't seen the property. Remember, there's three components that get taken into consideration: location, amenities, condition of the amenities, and any upgrades that may have been made. You cannot evaluate a property and how it compares to of what's been on the market to what their property is, and until you've actually seen it. Then you can compare an apple to an apple. So, but I would do a snapshot and I would just pull it right out and say, okay, right now, as of right now, as you can see, we've got, X number of properties currently on the market in your footprint. There are price range from this price range to this price range. There's a lot of variables that we need to consider. And average days on market is this, and whatever other information you want to drop in there. Okay. Again, you're just doing a quick overview in that section there. Your property value is determined by today's market. And again, go through these items with them, learn to read it. I'm going to say fast. You don't need to linger on it, but you need to hit these bullet points. Again, interview, setting expectations, overcoming objections, and setting the groundwork for how the transaction is going to flow, because you are going to help educate them on how the business of real estate works. All right. So again, bullet points. If you add or subtract anything from there, hit it in bullet points. Your property value is not determined by what you may have invested, what you want, what you need, blah, 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 blah. There you go. And in this market, it is important to remember that what it will comp for, what it may appraise for, and what it will sell for sometimes are three different numbers. So we have to compare an apple to an apple. And that's what this next page is going to talk about. Again, a little bit of factors that do not affect the value of the property, what you need, what you want, what the neighbor has said, what another person has said, and make sure that you are not shooting yourself in the foot. This page I love because before I go in to see them, I will go to Zillow, I will go to Redfin, I'll go to Realtor, I'll go to Appraisal. If there's any other ones that you know about, feel free to change them out or hook them or add them in there. I would also reference the NAR RPR. It's NARRPR.com. As a member of the National Association of Realtors, you have access to this program that will help do a CMA, plus all kinds of other cool neighborhood information. If you have not check that out. Go check it out. Put your own property address in there and see what these numbers come back at. Now, the reason I do this is because I know that they have gone on to another site and have looked oftentimes before I got there. So when they say, well, Zillow said my property is worth X amount, I would then pull this sheet out of my folder where I've written in the numbers of what Realtor, Redfin, Zillow, these other sites have had to say. Because the high and low, you may be surprised. There may be a range of, I think, $30,000 to $175,000 difference. So then comes the question is, who are you going to rely on? Because all these all these variables are nothing more than AI. It is artificial intelligence, always has been, always will be, because the one factor, as we just talked about, that they can't take into consideration is the visual of the house, what upgrades you've made, and the condition of the amenities that are there. There you go. All right. So add those numbers in there as well. And now you've got some talking points and you're selling your value. This next page is, again, your drop the mic. This is where you really get to sell your value as well. So for each listing I create a customized marketing plan because really no two properties are completely marketed the same. Here's what I want you to do. You will go through this quickly with them, especially what starts off at the top and then hit just a couple. But as you can see, there is a long list of things we do to customize the marketing plan for each individual property that I will do for this property. And they looking at this, your D is going, dang, okay, you're good. I is going, oh, wow, you're going to do all these things for me. Your S's and C are going, okay, you've got these in order, you've got a system, you know what you're doing. There's a lot here. Okay, I'm good. And again, it's in bullet points. It's numbered all the way down. Feel free to adjust it. Feel free to add in the Zillow showcase. Feel free to add in, the other specialty things that you may be adding. All right. So then once you get past that, let's talk about the added value that I bring to the table. When I come in and take a listing of a property, we are able to put it into a extended coverage for the listing period. Again, make sure that you are crystal clear on what it covers, what it doesn't cover. Make sure that you are articulating it correctly. Make sure that they understand if the appliances are currently working and they go out in 2 weeks, that is when the home warranty will kick in and help offset the price. Now, I always say that's going to help offset because I never want to say it's going to cover it completely because it may or may not. But the point being is the item must be currently working. So if it decides to kick out in 2 weeks to 3 weeks before we actually go to settlement, you have a little bit of protection in there. This is something that is a complimentary service that we will put on. Now, to include the heating and air conditioning system in the coverage, there is an additional amount, and as a gift to you, I would like to cover that amount for you, and is that okay with you? They're like, well, yes, that's wonderful. It's $50, gang. I would do that till the cows came home. There you go. It is from the point of listing to close. Here's the one little that you need to remember. The listing coverage will start once you put your listing up into SkySlope, where all the documents and contracts are kept. The company does not know that you have taken a new listing unless it shows up in SkySlope. Do not sit on the listing agreement for a week and then find out, first off, you're in trouble. Second off, let's say 4 days after they've signed and you have told them that this coverage is in place, but you neglect to get the contract uploaded into SkySlope so the company doesn't know and they don't put the coverage into place, and then something goes wrong, you now have egg on your face and need to get your foot out of your mouth because you got to go back and admit to them that you dropped the ball. You did not put the listing into the computer into SkySlope soon enough. Therefore, they're now dishwasher that doesn't work anymore or went on footsies. Yeah, it's not covered because you dropped the ball. Again, don't laugh. We've seen it happen. So make sure that you as the agent understand that goes into effect once it is uploaded into SkySlope. They work their magic behind the scenes, and there you go. So don't drop the ball and make that happen. All right, the next page over is what is a buyer's market? What is a seller's market? Again, you do not read this to them. You just find one or two sentences that you want to highlight for them. I often had a highlighter sitting with me, so if I needed to reach across the table and highlight something, I sure could. They can read this at their leisure. But again, you're educating the consumer on how the business of real estate works, and then you're able to tell them that we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market, and here's why. Okay, next category down, what every seller should know. Again, I take a moment here to make sure that I am hammering this home. Why? Because the consumer is going to try to steer you and guide you. Who's the expert here? You or them? If you're the expert, you lay this out. Okay, what every seller needs to home, that a house cannot sell for a penny more than the best offer from the best buyer available in the current market. Yeah, we can hold for a month or two, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be a better buying pool then. It's a roll of the dice. It could be better, it could be worse. All we can look at is what's right now, right in front of us. Again, make sure you take a moment to go through that with them. It overcomes a lot of the objections. Now, how do I get compensated? Please take the word commission out of your vocabulary and use the commission to my brokerage. Because technically, that is what it is. They don't make that check payable to you. That check goes directly into the brokerage, and then it gets divided out. So make sure you are using the correct terminology here. This is also where on this page, if you have the contract trends that Cardinal sends us out every week, that is where your ace in the hole is going to come in, because I would have it. And if I needed to bring it out to show them anything, I certainly would. Now, one thing you want to be careful of on this one, we know because and this is how you can say it, I track the numbers every week. They don't need to know that Cardinal's doing it for you and handing it to you on a silver platter. I track the numbers every week. And what I'm seeing 98 to 100% of the time, the seller side is willing to compensate or agree to offer closing costs or compensation for the buyer side. We are seeing this over and over and over again. Really, nothing much has changed. It's just how it is worded. But this is where you discuss what the compensation you ask for on behalf of your broker and your skill and expertise. There you go. You have that discussion, move on. Also, you will then go on to share with them that protecting their funds is extremely important to you. And since wire fraud and real estate money transferring fraud is enormous out there in the world, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you are protected. This is why we like to use Cardinal. It's yes, it's one of our affiliates, but it is also they provide Qualia and Zachem, so money is not getting accidentally wired out to a wrong account. We'll discuss this more down the road, but just know we've got you protected and we got your back. All right, this would be a page that I would then ask them to help me fill out. What is their home's greatest asset? You know, what did they like about the house when they bought it? They're going to tell you stuff. They may tell you that the afternoon breeze is like the best ever. You wouldn't necessarily know that, but that's what you're going to find out from them on that page. Next page down is preparing the home for sale. This is just a quick list of some of the most common items that we need to make sure that our sellers have at the ready. So as you're prepping, go ahead and get these things, get them all together, and know where they're at. So again, this is just for your reference. You don't need to sit and read it to them right now. Just know that that is a page that they need to talk about briefly, and that they will work on getting together. Here's some tips for the sellers. Let your house make a good first impression. Just like when you go to the mall and you're walking down the mall, all the stores, their windows are not papered up. They are Stores pay a lot of money to have their front windows staged. Why? Because you walking by, it's that first impression. You want to find something in the window that you go, ooh, that's cute. I think I need to go check that out. How many of you ever done that? I bet you all have. So making that good first impression on a home is the same concept. People will sometimes drive by, and if the front looks like it's a mess, they will keep driving. Has that happened? Oh, yes, it has. Have agents ever pulled up with a buyer and the front of the house just is not appealing and they go, yeah, no, we'll pass and keep on going? It does make a difference. So again, my job is to help educate you, let you know that's a real thing out there. And we want to make sure that your front shines like a brand new penny and is as polished and shiny as a front window at a store. Okay? So there's some ideas and tips for them to read over at their convenience. Who covers which expenses? This is just a recap. Again, pause here, please. Make sure that you go in, depending on your footprint, that these are in fact correct and current for your footprint. We have a large footprint here. I've kind of put everything generically together. Make sure that this applies in your area. So with that, you can go through with them. What is the message on this page? It tells them that both the buyer and the seller side have skin in the game. There are things that they need to be doing that they'll be covering the expense of and the cost of. So one side doesn't think, well, why do I have to pay for everything? And that is exactly the objection that you're overcoming before it ever comes out of their mouth. So it gives them a visual in bullet points. They may not read it, I don't care, but they can see a relatively equal list of bullet pointed items that the buyer side may be responsible for and the seller side may also be responsible for. Yes, many of these items are negotiated, but again, it overcomes that objection of, well, why do I have to pay for everything? There you go. All right. Ideas on how to improve or how to prepare your home for inspection. Again, I just mentioned it's here. They can come back and read this at their leisure later on. We'll get to that when we get to it. So from this point, what is our next step? So I believe that we can work well together. I would be excited and honored to create a unique marketing campaign for this property to find the best buyer that's out there. Do you agree that we could work well together? And that's when you nod your head and they go, yeah, absolutely, great. All right. So our next step, we need to complete the My Home Greatest Asset, which is page 18 if you haven't already got it. Decide when you're wanting to put the property on the market, prepare the home for showing, and then let me, as your agent, start your VIP marketing campaign. Obviously, the paperwork is right up there in the beginning as well. We need to get the paperwork in place so I can go to work. You are officially hiring me to do a job, and that paperwork allows me to do it. There you go. There it is. Now, I've even included into this one for you is the client concierge form. Now, I know a lot of agents have said, well, I don't have this I don't have this information. Here's where you get it. So while they're doing their first round of paperwork, this is one of the pages they're filling out as well and gives it back to you. This is where I would get all of their information, their birth dates, their anniversary, whether they're currently renting or their own owning. Is this, do they own another investment property? Is there, because if they're selling the home, make sure they're living in there, because if not, you got 1031 exchange stuff and all kinds of other things that could come into play. But you're finding out a little bit about them. And there's the VIP concierge form. Again, I'm going to find out what their favorite food is, restaurant, preferred drink, if they're a wine drinker, what they like, flowers or plants, sports or hobbies, music, retail store, because just in case I want to buy them a gift card for an anniversary, a birthday, or while they're trying to get moved in and settled, I'm going to make sure that I've got some information so I can hit it right on the mark. All right, my friends, that is it. Now, the last thing is the how did I do email. In my my website, I think it's in Cardinal Nest as well. You can research how did I do? It will come up. It's a quick template of an email, and it starts off with when we met. I carefully listened to what you said was important to you. Here is what I've heard you say. And then you will list in bullet points all these things that you talked about that was important to them during this interview. Then the final question that comes after that is, did I get it right? Did I hear correctly what was important to you? Because what's important to you, the agent, what's important to them may be two different things. You want to make sure that you've connected with them. Now, if they have not hired you on the spot, and if they're doing an interview, following up with that, how did I do, will definitely tip it over the edge for you. Because again, most agents are not doing that. They've never heard about it. We did it all the time. And again, oftentimes that was the final wow factor that got you the listing versus somebody else. Takes a couple minutes. There you have it. There you go. All right, my friends. So this is winding down the tips on the seller consultation, the before, the during, and the after. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. I'm glad that you joined us. And with that, go perfect your skills. Go download the consultation, customize it out, have it ready. So my question to you is, if someone called you right now and said, I need to list my home in the next 5 to 10 minutes, how fast can you get here? Do you have your listing consultation ready to go? The answer should be yes. All right, with that, I'm going to let you go. You got some homework to do. Thank you for joining me. And again, I don't care what you know. I want to know what you're doing with what you know. Go have a good one. I'll see you in class soon. Bye bye now.